Even like you're saying, plan. If you don't plan that, like Sean just said, then it takes it back to what he told you in the beginning, which was if you're not planning to monetize first, you will never monetize. Go through the series again. Feel that you have the abilities and the knowledge now that you can download it into your brain from these do-it-yourself trainings, but understand you don't need to go it alone. And we're here to make it happen with you together. Anyone that's done a lot of really amazing things, generally speaking, they're not doing it all by themselves. They need the help, and it pays to have the right talent and help on the team, which is why it would be a very wonderful and wise investment if you'd like to work with Sean and myself.
Sign up at createlaunchmonetize.com/go.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Sean Douglas, host of Life Transformation Radio, live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network on a special episode here on this Labor Day. Hope you're enjoying the weekend, the extended weekend, and whatever it is that you are doing for your life and for your business. Life Transformation Radio is heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, everywhere that you listen to podcasts. So make sure that you are subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is heard also in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. This is episode number 403. Life Transformation Radio is about our transformations. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting those transformational moments that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, you can go ahead and give us a call, 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. Make sure that you subscribe to our Facebook group at facebook.com/Life Transformation Radio. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Life Transformation Radio. And also, we are available on Pandora as well. With that, our guest for today is Paul O'Mahony, who is from the UK. And the title of this episode is On a Mission for Financial Literacy with Paul O'Mahony. With 9 years of experience working for a U.S. multinational corporation, Paul O'Mahony his first online company in 2010. This company was formed after having phenomenal individual success in generating income from a variety of social networks. For example, he made his first 2 online sales on only his second day attempting to sell using Twitter, and built up 30,000 followers in just 1 month. You can see his Twitter at Paul O. Mahoney. This online business rapidly grew into an excess of $10,000 a month with 6 months of getting started online in 2009. Quickly, his reputation became widely known, and companies of all sizes sought out his expertise to help grow their online brand and bottom line profits. Since then, his company has built up a large client base of world-renowned businesses, government agencies, speakers, Hollywood and sporting celebrities, while successfully managing their social media as well as providing consulting and coaching, all producing outstanding results. Having helped over 10,000 adults through his Rethink Academy, Paul decided to help kids and teens do the same. Paul and his business partner, Chris Farrell, created their foundation, Financial Freedom, in 2018 and are on a mission to empower children and teens to lead extraordinary lives, beginning by teaching financial literacy. Their aim is to reach 5 million children and teens in the next 2 years and help them become smart with money. His website, Paul O. Mahoney, MAHONY.com, PaulOMahoney.com. His Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram is right there in the show notes. Connect with him, letting him know that you listened to his episode of Life Transformation Radio. Right now, I want to welcome our guest right now to the mic. Paul, welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hello, Paul, you with us? Paul, can you hear me? Well, I would try to get Paul on the line. I want you to go ahead and check out his website at paulomahoney.com. If you have kids that are school age, teenagers, financial literacy is very, very, very important.
Can you hear me, Sean?
I can hear you now, Paul. What's happening?
Oh, great. Very good. Very good. A little bit of a delay there.
Oh, no problem, man. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. So happy to be here. And I love how you're spelling your name in the correct Irish form.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's funny what people will say, you know, when they see my name and they're like, is it Cien? I was like, do you not know who Sean Connery or Sean Penn or like anything? Like, there's no way you've never seen this name spelled this way before. Impossible.
Very true.
So on this glorious Monday, Labor Day here in the United States, man, where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from the beautiful little island of Cyprus.
Cyprus? Okay.
Yeah.
Where exactly is that?
It's almost in the Middle East. It's actually pretty close to Israel, Iraq, Syria. Like, it's got very friendly neighbors all around it and all sides.
Wow. Got
yeah,
neighbors. That's
it sounds like a fun place to live, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I've heard of Cyprus. I know, having military experience, there are a couple deployments, a couple TDYs, and a couple times that people have actually gone there and set up military operations in Cyprus.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
There.
Love it. Love it. So I went through the bio. I went through the title of the show, On the Mission for Financial Literacy. And I think it's amazing that your aim is to reach 5 million children and teens to help them become financially stable, financially literate. There's a lot of times where, that's not taught in schools, especially in the United States. It's something money isn't taught in schools. they're taught how to count money, but they're not taught the basic financial rules, like paying yourself first, or living within your means, or investing, or that's just not taught. When I was in school, which was 20 years ago, even before that, during my high school years, I remember my 10th or 11th grade, I think it was 11th grade, that inside of the social studies class was an economics, I guess, part. It was like a couple weeks long, 3-4 weeks long. And what they made us do was we had to learn about the stock market, learn about investing. They gave us, fake $10,000 to like invest or whatever. So you had to invest in some stocks. And then whoever made the most money would win some kind of prize or whatever. But it taught us about investing, which is not something that schools teach now. So I wanted to get your take before we dive in deep, man. What really led you to say, you know what, we need to empower children and teens to live extraordinary lives, and it begins with financial literacy?
Well, thank you for asking that question, because it goes back, I guess, to when I was a child, really, when I look back in retrospect. But we don't have all day, so I'll try and give you the shortened version. Both my parents are teachers, so of high schools, the high school equivalent in Ireland, and money was like a bad word in the house. It was always scarce. It was something that our uncle managed because he worked in an agricultural bank. I'm not sure where the connection was there, but money wasn't for us to think about. It was for our uncle to think about. And it was never even on the agenda that we were going to grow up and ever have an abundance of wealth. That just didn't come up. It definitely scarcity. Also, people always trying to take it off you, take it from you. You don't get to the top of the financial ladder without stepping on everybody to get there. And being Irish, we're from a very religious upbringing, where I'll never forget when I was at church as a child and hearing that a camel has a better chance of getting through an eye of a needle than a rich person into the kingdom of God. And I remember coming home that day to my granny, and
wow,
she had this needle with a bigger hole than the normal hole, trying to get a toy camel through it, and it just wasn't happening. Right from then, this conditioning started. The BS began, the belief systems, of course, around scarcity with money. And you know what? It just absolutely followed through into my adult life. Right up until I followed the corporate route, as you read out earlier in my demographic, for 9 years. Did all the things that on the surface ticked all the boxes. Academically did well. Went to college, got a degree in industrial biochemistry. Then I got a diploma in chemical engineering. Then I got a diploma in project management. Then I got an MBA. And then I was getting promoted. But at 30 years of age, despite numerous promotions and having all the trimmings of wealth with a house and a car, I was broke. I was hundreds of thousands in debt. And so was everybody else around me who were deemed successful by their peers. And this didn't occur to me, even though it was so freaking obvious, until I went to an event in Dublin in Ireland in 2009. And it was quite a few American speakers came over, and they'd clearly never been to Ireland before, because one of them said, turn to your neighbor and tell them they're awesome. And it was like tumbleweed went across the stage. We're like, is this guy serious? Does he think we're going to use the word awesome in real life? He didn't realize Irish people are the most skeptical people on the planet. Another guy said, stand up and massage the shoulders of your neighbor.
Yeah,
I've
heard this so many times at events.
Yeah, we don't even touch our own families, let alone strangers. We do social distancing naturally. We don't need to be told to do it legally. We don't drink because we enjoy it. We drink because we need to procreate. So this was the kind of place where we were coming from, where people were walking out. Literally, people were walking out. And one guy, thankfully, was standing there on the side, and he got up on stage and he goes, look, you guys are smart people. But he said, what you don't understand is you think we're here to brainwash you. And he said, ironically, you guys are the ones that have been brainwashed. And he nailed it. He said, you believe that wealth is connected to the number of letters acquired after your name. you dedicate the first 22, 23 years of your life and your parents' savings to getting letters after your name because you believe wealth is connected to that. He said, as a high school dropout, I found that a much better measure of wealth, rather than letters after my name, in other words, qualifications, are numbers in my bank account. And I'll never forget when he said it. He didn't just pull the rug from under me. He wasn't just challenging one or two minor beliefs. He was telling me not only was I going in the wrong direction, I was going in the wrong direction at speed. And he literally tore up all of the belief systems that my peers, my parents, my family, that everybody had me brought up to believe. And it wasn't like they were trying to trick me. This too is what they believed. And you know what? I looked around me and he was 100% correct. Nobody in my life had got close to financial freedom. Nobody was even above zero. They were in debt, and their plan around money involved borrowing more to get the bigger house, to go on a further holiday, etc., and a vacation. And that's when I really understood what Mark Twain meant when he said, I never let my schooling get in the way of my education. So I ended up quitting my job.
I love it.
Yeah. Should I stop talking for a minute to give you a chance?
No, I love that. No, man, I love exactly what you said. And every time I hear that quote, I'm like, oh, it's so true. So
it
true.
Really is. But the thing is, people nod their head as if they know what it means. But I used to think I knew what it meant. And then suddenly I realized, no, you don't. I don't even know what this means at all. I think I know it, but I don't act on it. So I ended up, I went to Tony Robbins' event. I quit my job. I was just believed, just went for this whole internet thing. And you know what? I did really well. Within 4 months, I was making more than my salary in a year. Within a year, I'd made my first $1 million. Within 2 years, I was earning more in a month than I would have if I'd stayed in my job for 20, 30 years. And it was kind of, the belief systems slowly started to shift, but it didn't happen overnight. I kept worrying about when I'd have to go back and get my job again. What I was going to tell my parents, what I was going to tell my friends and family, etc. But then as I started to teach others the same, how to become entrepreneurs, how to set up online businesses, how to, work on growing whatever they had as a business already, the challenge ultimately was always not how to earn more, it was how to keep it and grow it. And it started to appear over and over again that the root cause and the root problems with most adults is that they had no idea how money worked, how money flowed. Most people believe it's scarce. Most people don't know the difference between good debt and bad debt. Honest to God, people still do not know the difference between an asset and a liability. And I mean, highly educated people don't understand the difference between an asset and a liability. And I prove that every time I ask a question, 90% get it wrong. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. So this was always for me a real frustration as I was teaching adults, the fact that so much negativity around it. And then one day, a parent brought their child because the babysitter cancelled last minute. And he was 13. His name was Salman. And the dad gave him his iPad and he said, look, be quiet. Just do your thing. And Salman was glued to me. He was listening to everything that I said and put up his hands and he said, Paul, can I say something? Please, please. He said, I just made $190. And I said, Salman, can you answer me something? How long did that take you? He said, 11 minutes. And every adult had the same look on their face. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this show or not, so I won't just in case. But it was, you little, and you can guess what came after that. Right?
Yep.
Because adults will find 99 reasons out of 100 why something won't work. Kids just need one reason to make it happen. And it was at that point that I had this eureka that why am I spending so much time working on people who it's not the technical ability that they lack, it's the entire roots that they've grown up with that need to be unrooted one by one. The weeds need to be taken out before we plant some seeds, and that's hard work. But why not go to the generation where they haven't been brought up to believe that things aren't possible, that money is scarce, that that they don't start every story with everything would have been fine except for their hard luck story. And then I started to invite the children of parents to my workshop for adults. And one guy last year, Kiane, made $13,000 in 2 days. And this just reinforced for me what I knew all along. So 6 years ago, I decided to come up with the idea of teaching children about this. And It's taken 6 years, believe it or not, Sean, to get it to market. And the reason being, I had a book written. I was ready to go in 2015, 16. Then Tony Robbins came out with his book around money, and it was amazing. I said, right, he's raised the bar here. I can't come out with what I have. And then as I was about to launch it again, I realized, and here's the crazy thing. I realized that this would be the first time I was entering into mainstream, into the public, because internet and entrepreneurship is a acquired taste, let's say. But teaching children about money, I very quickly, from talking to a few friends, understood the way they think, which I'd forgotten. Why are you qualified? Why are you qualified, or how are you qualified to talk to my children about money? And I got made tens of millions of dollars, but that doesn't count. They wanted to know that I had some letters after my name. How ironic that it comes right back to the start of the story. So I went and I became qualified as a financial advisor to make sure I had those letters. And I went and did the 6 exams and did all that stuff. And that then allowed me to say, right, okay, I've got the credentials. Next step, how do you keep a child engaged? In a world where we believe that we give kids labels of ADHD and all these kind of things that never existed 10, 20 years ago, attention deficit disorder, and we say that about a child who was sitting in front of a computer screen for 10 hours without a break, without needing to go to the bathroom. You know, they've got no problem with attention. They just have a narrow value process, and they don't see how school aligns with their values. So unless you make it fun and engaging and something that they can relate to, they will once again not take any interest. So what we decided was, let's go animate this whole thing. Let's take the time. Let's put the money into it. It's worth it, you know, because no one is going to put the time into this because, you know, the financial reward isn't there, at least initially. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of investment. It's an untested and unproven market. But, okay, Robert Kiyosaki and people like that have led the way, but they teach the theory of money. Where I saw a massive gap was nobody's willing to step up and say, forget the theory. Well, don't forget it. Learn the theory, the fundamentals. But now let's go and earn it. Let's show you at whatever age you are, 8, 12, 14, that you can start earning money today, tomorrow, that you can start making more than your parents within 2 months. And this is what it's come to, that some of the tickets that we're getting are questions that you would never expect, which is, how do I handle my 14-year-old? They're earning more than me. That's because they just get on with it. They don't have those belief systems. They're born into a world where the internet is normal. Smartphones are normal. We're the last ever generation, Sean, that had to ring a building when you were looking for somebody. You know, I mean, our kids don't know how we survived.
Yeah, true. So what I want to dig in, there was a lot there. What I want to address, one thing that stood out is assets versus liabilities. And there's 2 things I want to say about that. One, I learned that assets make you money, liabilities cost you money. So you could say something like a house would be an asset because it appreciates in value. A car would be a liability because not only does it cost you money for maintenance costs and upkeep and things, but it depreciates in value as well. It'll never go up in value. It'll only go down unless you have a classic car, which that's a whole different kind of topic. It could be an investment because maybe it's a rare, maybe it's a one of a kind. Now we're getting into like liabilities versus like collectibles and things like that. But the way that I taught my kids too is that assets minus liabilities equal your net worth. You are worth your assets minus your liabilities. And one of the books that I had my 17-year-old read is called The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, which I think is a great book aside from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, I guess there's mainstays everywhere you go, right? I mean, you got Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you got Think and Grow Rich, you've got the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the E-Myth. I mean, those are like the mainstays. If you're going to read a book, read these ones, right? What I think is important is that we teach our kids, though, financial responsibility. And what I taught my 17-year-old, which I'm not sure that he got, I think he did it just to please me, I think, was I taught him the 6 bank accounts. And I don't know if you teach this, but I taught him the 6 bank accounts, which means your 6 bank accounts are split up into percentages of your net income. So your necessities, which is your rent, food, bills, things like that, that's 50%. of your monthly net income. And then your long-term, which is your big purchases, emergency funds, and vacations, are 10%. You have a play bank account, which is you're spoiling yourself and your leisure, and you can spend 10% of that a month or save it, whatever you want to do with it, but it's 10% of your income. Your education, which is your coaching, books, courses, things you're going to buy to better yourself, should be 10%. Financial investing, which would be stocks, passive income. It would be your bonds, savings accounts, whatever it is. This is your financial. This is what you do to really grow your money. And then bank account number 6 would be your giving, which again is 10%, which is your charitable donations. You're giving it away. You're doing whatever you want to do with 10% of your money. So if you have $5,000 coming in every month, $2,500 of it should be for your living expenses, and then you split the remaining $2,500 between those other percentages. That's what I taught them.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, so my variation on that for adults is 55% for necessity, 5% for give. I find that most can't squeeze into the 50%. And we simplify it for your teen, let's say 7, 8, 9-year-olds, where they don't really have necessities as such. We just split it into 4. So it's 50% you can spend, 20% save, 20% invest, and 10% to give. So very, very exactly along the same lines, really. And just one thing I'd like to come back to, Sean, is the asset liability discussion. A couple of things on that, just small nuances. The thing about a vehicle, and I don't mean a car as such, I mean, if you want to know if something's an asset or a liability, the question to ask is, what way is the cash flowing? So when you say buying a house, and this is often explained that your house is an asset because it goes up in value. That isn't the case half the time, because the economy is either going down or going up. So in many cases, you might buy at the peak or on the way down, so it's actually losing you money. But if you just add up all your bills and what's coming in and what's going out, if more is going out, overall it's a liability. However, with today's world, and you could rent out an office out the back, you could do Airbnb with it, you could certainly turn it into an asset. And very much like a car, the answer 9 out of 10 people would say it's a liability. Well, it depends. If you use it as an Uber, you now have an asset. So it just depends on the cash flow.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
These small little things make a massive difference to a 20-year-old. Because here's the quick and easy way of knowing, Sean. Ask yourself if something's an asset or a liability. How easy would it be to get money from the bank? If it's easy, it's a liability. If it's difficult, it's an asset. That's always the trick test, the trick question, because a bank is in the business of selling money. So if you're buying assets, you're not an asset to them anymore. You're a liability. In a strange way, right?
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, that definitely, you put it like that, it definitely makes sense. You can turn a liability into an asset, I think pretty easily. Doing it that way, I like that. I never really thought about it that way. So, again, just to prove your point that a lot of us are taught a certain way that may not be correct. We might have been taught, wrong information, or my mom said you must save everything and that is how you build wealth. Well, not really. You don't build wealth by saving money. You gotta, to me, and being a 37-year-old now, to me, wealth is being created by investing it and maybe doubling your money, maybe putting money into assets like real estate, putting it into assets like investing in people's businesses and letting it grow. But I don't think anybody has built wealth by putting it into a savings account, $100 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever, and letting it accrue interest. I don't think anybody in this world built themselves wealth by just stashing money into a Bible or into a mattress or into a savings account.
Correct, because inflation would have always eaten up whatever interest was being paid by the bank. So
Right.
But the thing about it is, if you want to build so like it's very confusing for people, because then you hear Robert Kiyosaki say savings for losers, right? And everybody has an angle. So then somebody will dismiss savings completely if they hear that, and it's always somewhere in between. So it doesn't mean you should put all your money into investing into stocks or even into bonds or into real estate, because what we find is the best way of doing this is you earn the right to get up the ladder of investments where you take low risks. So here's the strategy. I don't know if we have time to discuss this, but have we got like 3 minutes to discuss it's quite a deep strategy, but you can explain it quite quickly, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what you want to do is build a buffer. The reason why people are so emotive around money is due to the scarcity of it. So if they lose a job, they're 1 month away from having no income, so they're going to rush to the next job, and they always have this challenge associated with it. So ideally, you want to have 3 months worth of your salary set aside in a bank account, cash available, cash accessible, so that even if you are, worst case scenario, fired, you've got 3 months to go and find a replacement. So that's 3 months worth of salary. So let's say you're earning $3,000 a month. Your first goal is to save 3 months worth of that, which would be $9,000 at even 1 to 2%. Even the basic return that you get in a savings account, you could probably get 2 to 3% if you don't have access for 14 days. And while you are doing that, which will actually take, if you use the percentages that you were talking about earlier, where you set aside 10% for savings, it will take you 36 months to save that at 10% per month. 36 months to get 3 months set aside as your buffer. But while you're doing that, and you automate all of this, forced accelerated savings, you are then learning, where can I find 3 to 5% return? And you can find that in basic money markets, right? It wouldn't be that difficult. And then once you've got 3 months set aside at 1 to 3%, then you then save your next 3 months worth at 3 to 5%. And while you're filling that at 10% per month, you're then looking, where do I find an investment of 6 to 8% per annum? And then when that fills, where do I find 9 to 11%? So you're never taking the risk. And this is what people consider investing in many cases is highly risky. They get straight into real estate without actually having any basic savings at a lower interest rate, because with every increased return increases the risk. So, it's like, I've got a great tip on a stock, so I'm going to do this. The worst thing that can happen to you in a stock is double your money in the first month, because you'll think this is easy. And once you earn more than 10, once it goes up more than 10%, or goes down more than 10%, fear or greed kick in. And once you're within those tolerances, you're good. But once you go outside them, you're in trouble, because you'll sell if you fall under 10. You'll feel that you've got this whole thing figured out. If it goes over 10%, then you'll double down or triple down and eventually get caught out. So money should be boring. I mean, that's the irony of all of this. We're trying to make it fun, but if you actually really get it, money should be boring. You should know in advance what your potential upside is, what's your maximum downside that you'll be willing to put up with. And as Warren Buffett says, the number one rule of investing is don't lose money. And he said rule number 2 is check out rule number 1. And believe it or not, in today's world, you can create 100% rock solid investments where there is zero downside. And that's what people don't understand. They immediately go, that can't be the case. And I say, well, based on what research have you done? And they'll say, 0. I say, exactly. Right? Money flows from those. Money flows from those with the least value on it to those who have the highest value on it. In fact, I was reading this study that was a software program that they were running, where they said if you divided all of the money equally out across the planet, it would only be a few months before the money made its way back to where it started. Because the people without money, all of their plans around it when they get it is to get rid of it again. While those that it was taken off, all of their plans revolve around accumulating it again. So it just, human nature would play itself out once more. And that's the thing. You can tax the rich more and give it to the poor, but inevitably the money continues to go back, and the disparity is getting greater as the education that the wealthy are getting is completely different to those that, money is not a priority. And look, it's understandable. Teachers don't have the credibility to teach about money when they've never figured it out for themselves. And that's me speaking as the product of 2 teachers. They're doing the best they can with the limited resources they have, but I've never met a financially free teacher. You know, it hadn't, you know, no, that's not a negative comment. It's just a fact of the matter. They're doing what they're teaching, which is syllabuses that are hundreds of years old in many cases.
So so wait a minute. Let me ask you something. And this is you kind of sparked my interest when you had mentioned like Tony Robbins and giving away money. And so we've all heard of like the law of attraction, and he's got these affirmations that are like, money attracts to me, or I attract money. I have a flow of abundance. Money flows to me, you know, all that stuff. So based off all these books I've read, money is energy. So you attract it, you give it away. We got that. What do you say to those that are got that Tony Robbins vibe, right? Like, I'm a money magnet, you know, create an affirmation that says I'm a money magnet. I just find it hard to believe that in your mind you could say I'm a money magnet, but then still have the same habits. Like, you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
I just find it hard to think that someone could sit there and say, you know what, my money habits, like, for example, let's just take me for example. I'm 18 years old, just joined the military, just joined the Air Force. I go to England, my first base. Now, I'm pretty sure I have children over there in England somewhere, because I partied my face off for 3 years. Every single moment I was in a pub somewhere. I was taking people home. I was buying the whole bar a round of shots. I mean, I'm talking like I would buy like 30, 40 people a round of shots. I'm like, shots, everybody, shots. I was partying. I was in Scotland. I was in Italy, Spain, Germany twice. We backpacked through the hills of Ireland. It was amazing. We went to Wales. I went to Belgium. I mean, I was just traveling anywhere. Every single ounce of money that I had, I'd make sure that now I was living in the dorms on base, on the base. So literally my bills were car insurance and a cell phone. And even then, I got like pay-as-you-go phones for the most part, but then I started getting like a real, like phone bill. Other than that, I had no other bills. Every single ounce of money. I wasn't building wealth. I wasn't building a Roth IRA and, investing money into the bonds and stock market or whatever. That didn't even happen until 2004. From 2002 to 2004, for 2 years straight, I was literally living paycheck to paycheck and spending every single ounce of money just traveling and going to bars and getting drunk and hanging out with pretty girls. I mean, that was my life. In 2004, I was like, dude, I'm broke. Like, I have nothing to show for myself. So I started investing in the stock market. I bought Microsoft. I bought Ford. I bought the big ones because I was like, well, if any of these tank, we're in serious trouble. So I bought into Microsoft, and I bought into Ford. I bought into Yahoo. A couple years later, Yahoo closes as a stock. You can't even invest in them anymore. And then I sold all my stocks and went right back to what I was doing. I was getting loans to pay for my lifestyle, my lavish lifestyle of partying and taking trips. And then I started building a business. 2004, 2005, I started building a business, built a huge business until 2008, where I was bought out of a company that I built. And then my wife and I built another business in 2010 and 11, which that got like, $4,000 or $5,000 weekends, $4,000 to $5,000 months sometimes. Depending on what we were selling. We started doing antiques and collectibles. But my money habits really didn't change until after that. Till like 2013, 2014, we started having a bunch of kids. And we're like, oh, crap, now we got to start investing. Now we got to start building an nest egg. Now we got to start building an emergency fund. Never had an emergency fund. Never, ever had an emergency fund until probably 2013, 14, 15, 2015. Started having an emergency fund. And then something stupid would happen, and then that got depleted. And then we'd build it back up, and then something stupid happened, and it get depleted again. So even then, it was like, okay, well, 2014, 15, I started listening to Tony Robbins. I'm like, I walk around. I'm a money magnet. Abundance flows to me. And then people were like, no, dude, Jesus talks about money in the Bible like 137 times. Just listen to what Jesus says about money, and you'll be fine. And then I got to the point where I was like, oh, well, God's got this. What do I care about money habits? And I started going back to what I was doing. And I was doing lavish vacations, and I was getting into debt. And then there was one day I woke up a couple years ago. I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is like I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, but I'm like, I'm not like I'm a happy thousandaire at this point. Spent 20 years of my life building businesses. I'm a happy thousandaire. Never made $1 million. Never made over $10,000 a month. Maybe $12,000 a month. I don't know, man. I'm not a money magnet. I'm not. Still to this day, I'm not a money magnet.
Yeah, well, I get that, and it's great that you share that, because I'd say so many people resonate with that. Maybe didn't have the great times that you did, but the thing that's the common theme that you have with all of those stories is actually you did have an emergency fund all along. In your 20s, your emergency fund was for lack of beer, right? That was the emergency, running out of alcohol. So you always had enough if you needed it for a night out, right? And what that is basically saying is, what are your values? What are your values? So to keep it super simple, you can divide them out into 7 different areas: physical health, financial wealth, spirituality, social, mental knowledge, vocational, and family. And as you go through life, your focus changes. So in your teens, social is number 1. Early 20s, social is still a big, big part. Then in your 20s, your vocation, your parents want you out of home, time to get yourself a job. In your 30s, your family becomes your big one. In your 40s, men and women for the first time go in different directions. For women, it's mental, right? They've been rearing children for 10, 15 years. One day they hear this child that's now a teen across the table complaining, saying, "What do you call this iPhone 9? Do you think I live in the Stone Age? All my friends have got the iPhone X or iPhone 11, and you expect me to survive on this?" And somewhere in that haze, the mom goes, "What happened to that beautiful angel that I brought into this planet? Why was I rushing to teach her how to speak? Why didn't I wait till she was 9 or 10 to at least stop her from speaking back to me? Why was I teaching her how to walk so early? Why didn't I wait? It would have been great if she couldn't move until she was about 16, right?" And you say, enough. I'm sick of putting my life and dream and hopes on hold for these little, whatever you want to call them. I'm back. I want to use my brain again. And in the meantime, men are going through their midlife crisis. They're watching football. They realize they're watching NFL. And genuinely, their new favorite star, who's 20 years of age, could be their own child. And they're like, when did this happen? In their heads, they were, one knee injury away from making it as a professional baseballer player. And suddenly, boom, there's a 20-year-old that's making $10 million a year. They're like, how did that happen? And this is what the number one decade for divorce is, in your 40s. And people say, "Oh, you've changed." Yeah. And the partner goes, "Well, you've changed too." But when you have a small perspective, you don't see that the entire globe at that age, men and women, have a different value on money because they want to spend it on different things. And then in their 50s, if they hold out long enough, they now have a common value again. And guess what it is? Money and wealth building. Because suddenly they see there's a cliff edge coming up, that their revenue source is about to, it's tied into their energy, like you mentioned. Their vibrancy. They're not going to be hired for much longer if they're in employment because their energy is dropping. Or their business, which they know requires a lot of energy and time and focus to drive forward, if it's a solopreneur type business, is going to lag and is going to fall off unless they go at it with that energy that they had earlier. So suddenly they realize, how has this happened? How have we forgotten to look at money? They look at the money that's set aside years ago with a financial advisor, realize it's all gone. And now values go, their money value goes right up the top. Wealth is their highest importance. Kids have left the home. They've taken everything with them. And now they're saying, right, what do we do? Do we downgrade? And that's when they start to look to create businesses. They start to take bigger risks than they should do. And anybody at any point can do a simple exercise to realign wealth and money in their value system, where they don't always have a plan for getting rid of it. They have a plan for keeping it and growing it, and actually something that is related to keeping it. Because right since we were children, we reflected our parents, and our parents talk about what they would do if they won the Powerball. They'd buy houses, they'd buy cars, they'd buy holidays for their friends, go to the Caribbean. So kids reflect that personality. And then we wonder why people that win the lottery lose all their money. They didn't lose it. They implemented their lottery winning plan, which was get rid of it all, because we have this deep-seated guilt that if you have money, it's because you don't give it away. It's because you're mean. It's because you don't help the poor out. It's because rich people only got there because they got to the top because they stamped on everybody else because they're not paying their taxes correctly. And there's such a divide in the person's brain. They've been torn in different directions because they've been brought up. Most people have been brought up where money is scarce, so they don't know how to handle it when they have it, so they blow it. But it all comes down to an alignment of values. So if you decide that you have 20 reasons why you should need to earn more, keep more, grow more, invest more, most adults will find it impossible to come up with 2 reasons, but they'll find 200 reasons to spend it. And that's the critical thing. We are wired to get rid of our money. The media is designed to make you feel that way. All utensils that you purchase, like washing machines, cars, all these things that could last for 50 years, they design them to run out after 3 years or 5 years because they want to keep the money flowing, keep the money spending, and we buy into it. Bring it on, baby. Right. Keeping up with the Joneses. And the thing is, we live in neighborhoods where everybody is stretched by an equal amount to get the mortgage. So you think it's normal, and then you get to know these people, and you go on holidays with them and on vacation. So then you see, oh, it's similar people. So you go abroad, you come home, and you start to think this is what you do with money. And then you form a group to say rich people are bad, because that makes you feel like you've got community in that place. But money's not good or bad. Money is a means of exchange. That's all it is. That's all it ever was. And I have a better definition of it somewhere. I don't know what it comes to me. But it's nothing more than an idea backed with confidence. That's one of my favorite ones. Money is nothing more than an idea backed with confidence. And it truly is. The money comes into your bank account. Most people have a plan in advance of exactly how it's going to go out. Even if they forget to spend it, it's automated. In all the countries, cultures, continents I've been to, the one thing that I see more consistent than anything else, even belief in a God, belief in whatever it is this. The automation of getting rid of your money. It is the common theme you see across the globe. Just in case, even if you're hit by a bus, your money is going out on payday. We're so wired to do it. And then Einstein comes in and says insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting different results. Yep. And we nod our head going, that's clever, yet we go straight back and do the same around money each and every day. Yeah. So it's so prevalent around us that we justify it by saying, well, everybody's in the same boat. So what if we were in debt? A mortgage isn't debt because everybody has one. Mortgage comes from the word mortir, meaning to die. Mortgage literally means getting debt until death, right? So that's a difficult sell if you're a mortgage broker. No wonder they use the Latin word, right? So
thing about
I
mortgage
get really excited about this. Sorry.
Yeah, let me jump in right quick. One thing that people don't know, and I ask people this, one thing about mortgages people don't know is that instead of paying monthly, let's say your mortgage is $1,000 a month. Instead of paying monthly, if you pay $500 on the first and $500 on the 15th, you actually cut the term of your loan in like a third because you're not paying all that compound interest. People think that the interest rate's $1.17 a day, $2 a day. That's what you charge interest. So you're getting charged that interest for 30 days. Your car loans, your mortgages, whatever it is, most banks won't even let you pay it off on the 1st and the 15th. They're like, nope, you have to pay it all at once because they know what's going to happen. They're not going to reap all that interest. So I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, banks aren't the bad guy here. Banks sell money. And people wonder why they get penalized when they pay their money back early. Like, what's wrong with the bank? Because their business is selling money, a profit. So, and a couple of things I want to add, just in case I don't squeeze it in. All debt isn't bad either. This is another negative thing that people don't understand. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Bad debt is the debt that you get from banks. It's when you're borrowing money to purchase liabilities. Yep. But you could also borrow money to purchase assets, which is extremely smart. Like, is it Robert Kiyosaki's like $700 million in debt? And he doesn't pay any tax because you don't have to pay tax on debt. He controls all of the properties. He doesn't own any of it. It's as he says, taxes is a punishment for the dumb, and he puts it that way, which sounds really really harsh, but he says it's an incentive for the rich and it's a punishment for the dumb because the more, and I don't, this is in no way a commentary on somebody sitting there going, this guy's an a-hole for saying that. Believe me, it's not. Money isn't make you a good person or a bad person, or your knowledge of it doesn't make you a good or a bad person. But if you do learn these things, the world becomes a very different place, because the model of a 3-step process of learn for 22 years, earn for 40, 45 years, and retire for 15 years is over, simply because the average age expectancy for a child born today is 103 years of age, 106 if you're in Japan.
Right.
So how can you set aside 2% of your salary for 45 years and live off of 2% for another 40 years? It doesn't work. So we have to explore this new work. And look, I feel like if I was sitting at home now, I'd be getting really anxious. And this is what I want to reassure your listeners. We are living in the most incredible times for opportunities. There are 1,200 new millionaires created every day in the US alone. 1,200. This has never happened before. You can pick up your smartphone and it can be the number one addiction for you as it is in society, and it can be your number one liability, take money out of your pocket, time out of your life, or it can be worth its weight in gold to you. You need to move away from being the consumer and become the producer. You need to be moving away from the person who uses it as their compass to the person who has other people responding to them. And it literally just takes a little bit of knowledge applied in the correct direction. We've never had a chance to get as wealthy as we can today by just pressing buttons. My job here today, Sean, is to press your listeners' buttons so that they press those buttons, because they already know how to make money online. They're just making it for other people. They got to figure out how do they make it for themselves.
Yep, absolutely. So we got to close. What is the message that you want to give somebody today, the listener, if they don't listen to anything else that you've said during the show? What is the message that you want to deliver to them?
Okay. If you want to change the financial situation that you're in right now, it comes down to one key thing, and that is you need to set aside and write down at least 20 reasons why you must hold on to money, why you must save it, why you must invest it, and why you must grow it. Because as long as your only plans around money are getting rid of it, if you are single right now and you're putting a plan together for meeting your new partner, and you've already planned in advance how you're going to break up with them, how long is that partner going to stay around? Everything is energy, like we mentioned earlier. So if your plan around money is always to get rid of it, just like your new girlfriend or boyfriend, they're never going to stay. You need to grow up like you did with your relationships, with your relationship with money, and have a plan for it to stick around. Make room for it. Open the accounts. If you do nothing else other than just put those 20 reasons down, and Sean shared a massive gem with you earlier where he broke down, open those 6 bank accounts and do that. If you start to manage money in that way, it doesn't matter how much you have. The better you manage your money, the more money you'll be given to manage.
Mm-hmm. True. Man, 100% true. Paul, I think you are a wealth of knowledge. I feel like we could talk for another hour just about what you just covered. It's amazing.
You'll have to have me back.
So, what I love to do, man, is here's what I'd love to do. I think that we should do a January 2021, because this show is live right now in over 90 countries. What I would love to do is do a January 2021 show, like right after the New Year's. Maybe on like January 2nd or something, or whatever that day would be. But I think we should plan something to where we create a financial plan for people. Okay, it's 2021, January, step 1. Yep. My New Year's resolution that I'll quit in like 3 days is going to be this. What's the plan? My business thrives January and February because everybody is so eager to get a head start in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was like that every month, where people are so eager to get ahead every month, but they're not. They go full out in January and February. They stop in March, April. Then they start replanning in May, June, and then maybe July. They're like, crap, I'm halfway. Now I got to try it again. And then August is always awesome. September's awesome. And then October, November, December are like the worst months because everybody's like, crap, I blew it. I'll just save my money till the following year. And I got Christmas, and I got New Year's, and I got Thanksgiving coming up, and I got Halloween, like all these holidays coming up. So October, November, December, nobody wants to spend money on them. It's about the holidays. It's about the food. It's about everything else. So I think we should come up with a financial plan and have you back, right around the beginning of January to work with people on their financial planning, their financial beliefs, man. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I'd love to. And I'm just going to let people know the reason why people don't keep New Year's resolutions is the exact same way they don't keep their money. They set plans that are negative. I want to lose weight. To them, that's starving or going to the gym, which adds pain, or stop smoking, which adds pain. Or they never associate a positive with the outcome. They target the things that are negative, eating less, saving more. So with money, we always associate saving it as bad and getting rid of it as amazing. So it's the same reasons why our pain and pleasure are misaligned, and with New Year's resolutions, and it's the same with money, and we can fix it all at once.
100%. Love it. Where do you want the people to get more information about you? Where's the best place to go?
So again, depending on what they'd like to know, if you'd like to get stuff about my online, I've got a free gift for you on Rethink Social Media, building an online business. They can go to rethinkgift.com. And if they'd like to know more about the children's training for teens and 7 to 17-year-olds, to go to funantialfreedom.com. Funantialfreedom.com.
Love it. Love it. Again, thank you for being an amazing guest on the show. It was absolutely the best episode that we've had in a long time, man. Just the value and the content was just absolutely incredible, man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No, I loved it. Thank you so much, Sean, and I'm really looking forward to coming back.
Thank you. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around him. If anything's resonated with our conversation today with Paul O'Mahony on financial literacy or anything we talked about money, please reach out to him. Click on the links below in the show notes. Listen to what he has to say. Very, very smart on money. Very, very smart on creating your next wealth. With that, I close the show by saying live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.